So my body went like this with 600 pounds. So I collapsed on the ground. I spent the next 6 months in a wheelchair, on a cane. And then he said, okay, just face up. And he didn't say anything. He didn't explain to me anything. He just got to work. And 1 hour later, he said, stand up. And obviously I had my cane, but I didn't use it. I just stood up, and I never felt like that in my life. And I went back to him. I said, listen, I want to learn your art. I want to become one of your students.
Welcome, beautiful souls, to another mind-blowing episode of Liberate Your Bliss. I'm your host, Chelsi, and today we're diving deep into the world of generational healing and bodywork that's going to completely blow your fucking mind. In this episode, you're going to get some serious wisdom on the power of generational acupressure and its ability to release deep-seated toxins, how to clear chemical, emotional, and physical blockages from your body, the ancient wisdom of Kung Fu warrior families and their healing codes, the courage it takes to face your body's stored trauma and transform it, and how different healing modalities can work together to create profound change. My guest today is the incredible JP, a master of ancestral acupressure and bodywork. This badass healer learned his craft from a Kung Fu warrior family, tapping into healing codes passed down through generations. He's been helping people release Sha, that stuck stagnant energy, from their bodies in ways that are nothing short of miraculous. JP's story is absolutely wild, and I know it's going to resonate with so many of you. And it's truly a testament to the power of ancestral wisdom and the body's innate ability to heal itself. So before we dive in, I want to remind you of something crucial. True healing isn't just about the physical body. It's about aligning your inner world with your outer reality. And this is the heart of what I teach in my embodied healer and soul path mastery programs, which we'll touch on later. Whether you're dealing with chronic pain, emotional trauma, or just feeling stuck in your life, I think this episode has something for you. So open your hearts, beautiful souls, as we explore the transformative power of generational healing with JP. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast channel, I highly suggest heading over to YouTube and watching this episode, because we videoed the healing, and seeing the Sha removed from the body is just absolutely insane. So head over and check it out. JP, wonderful to have you on.
Thank you.
Please tell me about ancestral acupressure and how you got into this work.
Yes, so my whole life I've been obsessed with the human body. Performance, martial arts, bodybuilding, sports performance. Ever since I was a kid, I was just drawn to healing, to recovery, repair, and I would pick up any magazine I could on muscle development, that kind of stuff. I was a competitive tennis player all throughout South America, almost turned pro. But because Colombia and everything going on, we moved to Canada when I was 18. I kind of stopped playing tennis, and just because of the seasons, got more into weight training. I had a smaller physique. I was pretty lean and had some good definition. So a friend at the gym is like, you should explore your genetics and maybe get into bodybuilding. So I did my first competition at 150 pounds, so pretty small, but shredded. And it looked good. I won, and it gave me motivation to keep going, right? Many, many years later, 16 bodybuilding competitions later, and I had an injury at the gym. I was doing a heavy squat with 600 pounds. And the way this gym was set up is that the squat rack, at the end of the leg equipment, there was a step mill, the big rotating stairs, and a lady had a stroke. So she actually went unconscious, collapsed, went backwards, hit the barbell on the right side when I was at the bottom of the squat. So you could imagine 600 pounds on your back, and you're fully focused in the mirror, and then somebody just has an accident like that. Thank God she was okay. But it hit the bar, so my body went like this with 600 pounds. So I collapsed on the ground. I spent the next 6 months in a wheelchair, on a cane, a walker. Spent close to $60,000 of my own money, just hired the best physios, the best chiropractors. I did acupressure, but in Chinatown, I went to the best, and it was more just traditional Chinese medicine acupressure, which is what they teach in school. It's very different from ancestral acupressure. So those 6 months were really tough, psychologically, mentally, emotionally, physically. Seeing my body just degrade, losing muscle mass, not being able to go to a bathroom properly, shower, basic necessities. So, in life we have so many problems, stuff that we want to deal with, but you only really have one problem when it's your health, right? And that's all. I was just like, I need to fix this. Long story short, one of my best friends, Mitchell, called me up one day and said, hey, there's this master in Kung Fu, Tiger Kung Fu, and he healed my mom from cancer. You should see him. I know you tried everything, and you're really disappointed. Your body's just, but this guy's got magic. He's got powerful hands, and I never seen what he's done. I went to see him. He opened the door, just in his house, whole family, kids, grandparents, parents. He was, at the time, it was 10 years ago. He was in his 50s, I believe. And he looked exactly like Bruce Lee. Just short, ripped, I was like, wow. And he had this aura about him. And he didn't say much. And he just served me a bowl of pho, right? Just some Vietnamese food. He's Vietnamese. And he didn't say anything. He just kind of wanted me to just feel relaxed. So I had the pho. I finished, and then he said, let me know when you feel it. I'm like, what? What do you mean? He says, oh, I put a very small dose of psilocybin mushrooms. I'm like, okay. I've tried them before. It's cool. And he said, it's going to help you take on the pain, and it's going to help you to just relax and have any kind of emotional stuff from what happened that you told me on the phone from the injury just come out. And if you need to have a purge or a release or cry, just let it out. We went further into the house, and he opened this room, and it was just beautiful. He had Jesus, he had angels, incense, sage, charts of the human anatomy. And then he said, okay, just face up. And he didn't say anything. He didn't explain to me anything. He just got to work, and 1 hour later, he says, stand up. And obviously I had my cane and just trying to, but I didn't use it. I just stood up, and I never felt like that in my life. And ever since I was a kid, I had like all kinds of massages and physio and kind of stuff. And this technique was so unique. I was deeply fascinated by it. And I was just like, wow, I went home and I felt so good. I slept, for the first time, I slept like 10 hours because my body needed it. Next morning, I just called him and I said, listen, I feel great. How does this work? Like, can I come again today? He said, come again. So I went again and I felt better. And that's where he actually, he didn't have clients after me. So he said, I'll spend a little bit of time and I'll explain this to you. He said, my father taught me this art. My grandfather taught my dad. And it's been passed on through the lineage of Tiger Kung Fu. And I'm like, this is awesome, man. And then he explained that in ancient times, when warriors went to battle in Mongolia and China, Kung Fu monks that knew the art of Kung Fu, they would train warriors, they would train the kings, the princes, all that kind of stuff. They would spend many hours training themselves, meditating on this art. It went together with combat. So the same strikes used in this healing are actually used for healing, whether it's pa, 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 the thumb, the fingers. It could be used for combat, but it also could be used for doing deep, intermittent, fast-paced pressure to get rid of the blockages in the body and softening up muscle tissue and even getting rid of toxins that get stuck sometimes for decades. Microplastics nowadays, herbicides, pesticides, insecticides that get stuck, heavy metals, whatever they spray in the air, vegetable oils, food preservatives. And obviously, we release cortisol with workouts and training and stress and trauma and emotional stuff that gets stuck in the issue and in the fascia from circumstances, situations, and events that we go through as humans, So he explained this to me, that warriors went to battle to kill or be killed. And when they came back to camp, the ones that weren't hurt, as per like a massive wound or something, but they were sore and tight, that could fight the next morning or the next day, they would go through this very fast acupressure, and they would also combine it with paidalagin, which is a slapping method. They would combine the two. He said, what I do for most people that come here with arthritis, osteoporosis, fibromyalgia, multiple sclerosis, back pain, shoulder pain, joint pain, whatever, cancer, tumors, cysts, fibroids, you name it. I mainly do acupressure. And the paidalagin, I only use it when I can't really get the blockage out with the acupressure. I'm like, interesting. The number one law in the universe is law of vibration. So then we have the law of attraction, and everything oscillates, everything vibrates, so it just makes sense. Vibrational medicine has been around for thousands of years, and even though it's not used as much, now sound healing is so popular, sound baths are so popular. The stuff that you do is amazing, like music, frequency, sound, it's all vibration. So this is a vibration, this type of acupressure. But with the slapping, it's also a different type of vibration that gets the stuff out very efficiently. He then went to explain me the human body tune-up. The same way you take your vehicle to the mechanic to change the spark plugs, the brakes, the oil, the filters, whatever. We need a human technician, somebody that we can go to, not just for a massage, deep tissue, or get adjusted, but somebody that understands how to cleanse and clean the circulation, the blood, the lymphatics, the lymph nodes. Just obviously increase life force, key. How to organize the body in such a way that the muscle fibers if they're a little bit entangled from the training or stress or whatever the body's gone through, or accidents, impact, you could kind of put them back into place. So it increases the body's ability to recruit more muscle fibers. So what's a motor unit? A motor unit is one nerve cell and all the muscle fibers it innervates. So if a motor unit can innervate up to 500 muscle fibers, but it's only innervating 100, you have 400 muscle fibers that are not coming into play to help you with strength, with power, with stamina, with endurance, with hypertrophy. So my goal was always to increase performance, and he was talking my language. It's like the pinnacle of what I do is no different than going to Hapkido, karate, judo, and go from white belt to black belt. This is an art, but it's also a mastery of combat and human performance. He said, I'll teach you how to become a black belt in this. We'll go in steps. And then when you become black belt in any martial art, there's usually 10 degrees. First degree dan, second degree, third degree, until you become to a 10th. And usually most martial arts, you don't get that till you're like in an older age, right? So I was fascinated with speaking my language. I did a lot of karate growing up. I did a lot of Hapkido growing up, a lot of judo. I was like, okay, so these human tune-up, how does it work? He said, no different than a personal trainer, and you tell him, hey, how long would it take me to look like this guy on this magazine? The trainer, if he's really good, he said, okay, to look like that, it's going to be 8 weeks. You're going to train with me 4 or 5 days a week. This is the diet. This is the training. This is the nutrition. This is the recovery. This is what you eat every 3 hours or whatever. This is the supplements. And in 8 weeks, if you do the cardio, the training, and you follow everything, you're going to look like this or better. So he said, in 1 hour, I scan the body, and I kind of feel everything. The joints, the muscles, the energetic field, the aura. I connect with the body, try to feel what's happening. And then I tell the person, hey, to do this tune-up, it's going to take 6 months because you're overweight or you're obese and you've been doing cocaine and crack and marijuana and whatever for months. Or somebody who's healthy and be like, hey, you know what? You're healthy, you're lean, but you're 38 years old and you've been accumulating toxins your whole life. Right now, we deal with about 80,000 toxins a day, right? That's the studies. That's not me saying that. That's the science.
Different in the Western and Eastern world, though, right?
Yeah,
Just
of
for people
course, of
watching.
course. I think in this side of the world, we just deal with a lot of plastics, you know? It's just, they're in the ocean, they're everywhere, it's a massive amount. But also, we're dealing with so many less chemicals in our food. People, if you're really conscious, you could get away just having amazing organic fruit, vegetables, even meat. You go here and you buy a roasted chicken, it looks like a proper chicken. You go in North America and you buy a chicken, it's like 3, 4, or 5 times the size, and you're like, what's up with this, you know? Let alone all the food that they give the chicken and the cattle industry. We know now is loaded with debris of dead animals that weren't proper for human consumption. So they mix them up, threw corn in it, antibiotics, and they feed it to the cattle industry and the chicken industry just to fatten them up and get them to grow quicker, and growth hormones and steroids. So it's just more money. It just keeps the whole system going, and you can taste it. So when I eat chicken like that or beef, I just like right away I have to stop. And a lot of people don't acquire that taste because it's what they eat every day, you know. So he explained all this concept of the human tune-up, which I was like, this is excellent, man. So look, I want to get back on stage. I was at the prime of my career. I had gone from lightweight to 254 pounds, 16 competitions, out of which 8 of them I compete 100% natural. I learned bodybuilding naturally. I'm extremely competitive, and I always have the mentality of a champion. I wanted to learn this side of biohacking and compounds and how to put them together in a way that would be healthy and without side effects, or minimize side effects to a way that I could really take my physique to a whole other level.
When you got in the accident,
Yeah.
how low of a weight did you drop when you were coming out of this tune-up?
I was at 200 at the time. I was going through my growing phase. I was 254 pounds, and I was super strong. I was doing like 600-pound squats. I was doing 650-pound deadlifts, and not for one rep like powerlifting. I was doing for reps, 8 reps, 10 reps, you know. I dropped to 180 pounds, right? So I didn't go down to like what I originally was, because I had already spent years building, but the muscle just wasted away along with the depression, the anxiety, the emotional, just like, oh my God, you know, this is crazy. My hip flexors were torn, my abdominal muscles were torn, my intercostals, glutes, erector spinae, lower back, QL.
Did you think you were probably never going to be doing bodybuilding again
No,
at this
I
point?
thought I was done. I thought I was just going to be in a wheelchair forever. I was just like, this is so crazy. Like, I can't believe this happened. My whole life I've been an athlete. And one of my best friends lost his legs to a car accident. I was just talking to him. And he, like, became really close to God and everything like that. But I just couldn't really purely get that connection because being so competitive as I am, I was like, there's got to be a way. So I'm very grateful to Mitchell that made that connection. So I learned about the human tune-up, and he took me through 3 months. So I could only commit three times a week for 3 hours. But in 3 months, my body changed, mutated. I didn't change my eating. I didn't eat more. I didn't take more supplements or stuff. I basically just simply just went to see him. And I was getting a pump. I wasn't training heavy, lightweight, like 20-30% of my maxes. I was still a little bit worried and scared that the body wasn't ready. But he kept saying, you could go heavier, but I just didn't want to. It's really cool. On my old Instagram, I have a picture of when he was just finishing the tune-up, and it was just amazing. It was just like things were just, I looked like a cartoon character, and it was because the way that he reset my body and my circulation was so efficient that all the oxygen, all the amino acids, all the glucose, all the fatty acids, everything was working to just build muscle. Once I did the competition, I won, it was great, and I went back to him. I said, listen, I want to learn your art. I want to become one of your students. And he said to me, well, I'll take you through some testing and see if this is really for you, because everybody says that to me. I only have 3 students, and I'm like in my 50s, because this is extremely hard work. And not only is it physical, and it's extremely draining for the person, but you have to train your fingers, you have to train your wrists, your hands, with the sand, push-ups, hand and pushing. You have to do different, martial arts just to keep everything going, because the real tune-up is not just 1 hour like most therapies. You go to massage, 45 minutes to an hour, physio, whatever. It's like 3, 4, 8 hours a day working on a person, and you could take breaks, and they could take a nap, and they could have lunch and sleep. But it's like you're tuning up the body, right? I would see people with kidney failure walk in, and he would fix them. I would see people walk in with cancers and tumors in their back and their stomachs and their organs and their liver and pancreas, and he would fix them. It was the most fascinating thing I've ever seen in my life. But he only used those 2 modalities: ancestral acupressure, he called it that way, and pedalaging, which is the slapping method, right? In ancient China, and even now if you go, they do a pedalaging method with their hands only. And they do it for 10 minutes to 20 minutes. And when the stuff comes up, like you'll see in the video, they tell you, okay, Chelsi, you know what? It came out, you're good. We'll see you in a week. But then he said that was actually wrong, because when everything comes out, his approach to increase human performance is like, I want you to work out tonight. It doesn't have to be 100%, but go 50%, go swimming, go do some yoga. But if you're in that kind of pain, you're just, for a week, you're going to be sore. It's going to be inflamed. He says, so the key is the ancestral acupressure before and immediately after the slapping technique, the vibration. Someone would come in, like this lady with kidney failure, and he's like, okay, watch this sequence. He would put them on the side like this with their knees, and I would watch him just like, pa, 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 go through the back. And I would watch the chart of the meridians, the nerves, the organs, and it was amazing how he was hitting the meridians like this, pa, 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 pa. And he would do it repetitively, and he's just putting life into the kidneys. He's getting rid of all the toxins and chemicals in the lymphatics, in the muscles, in the bones. And he was like, and his fingers, even now, probably way more powerful than mine. He's just like, it's a strike. Like he goes like this to you, and it's like it'll push you far back. I learned how to help people with a lot of conditions, and after 3 years of very intensely, started getting rid of materialistic stuff, businesses and stuff, and I said, this is really my life purpose. I thought it was being a coach for health and fitness and bodybuilding, and I was really popular at the time. I had between 20 to 40 clients per competition, from all over the world, online and in person. It was a great business. There was a lot of money that I was making at the time, but I started to lose somewhat passion for it, and I felt that I could help people in a way better way than just putting them on a meal plan and a workout plan. So I went on to learn this technique from him, and then one day he says, okay, you know how there's white belt to black belt? I'm gonna teach you what happens after black belt. Because everything in between was, okay, what do we do for arthritis? What do we do for multiple sclerosis? What do we do with like neck pain? Or what do we do with a tumor located in the large intestine. It's all this stuff. And people would come in with these conditions. He said, I'm going to take you through a couple months of the highest level. It was just like crazy. It was the craziest thing ever. So I would show up, we had pho. He would put a small dose of psilocybin mushrooms in there. Just small enough just to get you going and give you some power and just like enter a little bit of a psychedelic effect. And we would use specific music and frequencies to download information from source to work through the body as well. So I would work on him 30 minutes. We rotate, he worked on 30 minutes. Then we would move the massage table and we would spar. And it would be like almost literally combat. He always kicked my ass, But I was able to get him a few times. He used the speed of lightning. He would move just like, foo, 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 His wife would come in, it's like, everything okay? Because you could hear things flying, table, and we would really go at it. Then he said, okay, where you feel tight? And we only do that for like, 5 minutes. 5 minutes of sparring, not much. And then we would stretch. And he would stretch me, and I would stretch him. I said, where is tight? Where do you feel blocked? I said, here, here, here. And then I go back on the table, and where I told him I felt blocked or tight or stiff or rigid, he would go there. And then his turn, and he'd tell me, okay, do it here, here. I would go there, slap, whatever we had to do, either slapping or the acupressure. And then we'd spar again. And this would go on for 6 hours. So we usually start like 10 p.m. and we finish by like 6 a.m. And that was how it was done in ancient Mongolia and China. Warriors would just do this healing and combat with each other throughout the night, or sometimes throughout the day. And that was their profession. You've seen that movie with 300, where it's like, Spartans, what's your profession? Ahoo, right? It's just like, we're warriors. That's what we do full time. He taught me that, which was what I use with UFC fighters, cage fighters, really elite level athletes, even bodybuilders, basketball players. I had some professional hockey players I work with, professional football players, soccer, all from other parts of the world, which was amazing. And a lot of them don't have background in martial arts, but that time of sparring, I was using more teaching them the art of movement. And just like, and just less combat and more just learning the patterns, right? So I basically then, he said, you've mastered my art. We did a little ceremony, which was very touching. And then he said, well, just, my 3 students are in Saigon and they don't travel. So why don't you travel and spread the love of ancestral acupressure? So that's what I did. I spent the last several years now, I cannot go in a circle. I go Asia, Colombia, Costa Rica, Mexico, Miami, Canada. And that's where I have the majority of the people that I help.
Yeah, it's amazing. And for anybody that has never done martial arts, coming in and sparring, you're getting kicked, you're getting hit. The tightness that the body does feel, it's unbelievable, right? And for anybody that hasn't played sports, like, it's insane, those blockages and how quickly it immobilizes you and people hobble around. So the fact that you're going into combat and then all of a sudden working on those areas to loosen them right away before it gets so tense, right?
Exactly.
You're removing the blockage. It's just fascinating.
Yeah, if you're doing a back spinning kick or like a jumping spinning kick or just a front kick, like how high can you kick? How much can you rotate the hips? And, so if you have more flexibility, it means that you have less tightness. But if you have more flexibility, are you able to whip it with power? If you can, it's because that acceleration is being blocked. And it could be a small blockage or it could be a big blockage, right? They look like gummy bears, gravel, rocks. They all look different depending on what's there, but it looks like marbles, pebbles. Sometimes it's really, really leathery, rubbery. And when you touch it, in medicine, they think it's just fat or cellulite. Sometimes it is, of course, it's just fat or cellulite. But a lot of times, with the training that I receive from it, and you touch it, it's exogenous compounds. It's not part of the body. This is literally debris that's been stored in the body for decades.
And this is why people are aging.
Yeah.
From these toxins, right?
What's aging? Aging is the fast increase of toxins accumulations over time that just start to break down your body. That's what aging is. So how can we cleanse the body and tune it up so we can live longer, healthier, stronger, and happier, right?
Yeah, and it's fascinating. So even, when you worked on my body, it was very interesting because you showed me the difference between these blockages. There's there's chemical blockages, physical blockages, and emotional. Can you talk a little bit about the three of those and the difference that you see in the body and where in the body you would see those?
So the chemical ones I already talked a lot about. So it's just the stuff that we eat, the stuff that we consume through pollution, the air, when we're stuck in traffic, if you have a motorbike or if you have a bicycle and you're going to work every day and you're going through traffic, inhaling those compounds. It's just inhaling fumes. The stuff that I see coming out of people's chest, lungs is insane. I have a friend who worked at a Mr. Lube just changing oil all day, and it was just one of those kind of express services. People drive car, get in, change the oil filter, synthetic oil, whatever, and get out. And it was literally hundreds of cars a day. And he was only 40 years old, and he looked like he was 55. He was aging so fast. He's breathing, and he was a leaner guy. He wasn't like overweight or anything, and he just couldn't breathe. Always in a bad mood, angry, always fighting with his wife. She wanted to divorce him. She would call me, he's like, can't handle this guy, help him out. I gave him a tune-up. Everything came out of him was insane. Eventually, he quit the job to something else on an office where he could just focus more, bring his meals, corporate setting that they had a gym, and he changed his whole lifestyle. But the stuff that came out of him was absolutely insane.
And you would say the majority of human beings are carrying that chemical blockages.
Now,
100%?
100%, yeah.
And where do you think the worst industries would be that people would be really carrying these toxins?
Yeah, no.
Like FIFO guys at the mines, I can imagine being
the
brutal.
mines is coal, gold, whatever, cobalt, you name it. It's just the fumes, the machinery, the chemicals, the smokes of the machines. That's 100% the worst. Second is if people eating at fast food places. I don't want to mention the names, but the big M and the fast food places where the food is just all GMO, and they now we know is like they done studies where like, hey, it's been 5 years, 10 years, and the French fries look the same, bread looks the same, the beef patty looks the same, it didn't mold. So what's in it,
And what about smoking and vaping and drugs? Is that all chemical as well? And do you see that? I guess so for somebody that's like a vapor or smokes cigarettes. Mm-hmm. Is that chemicals? Would it be throughout the whole body, or do you see it in the lungs more?
There's two things. So if you're a vapor or a smoker and you do it on a daily basis, it's going to have massive detrimental effects in terms of toxin accumulation. If you do it once in a while, but you're also healthy, you work out, you train, you eat organic, you cleanse, you do your sauna, you sweat, you meditate, you do yoga, you stretch, you do a little bit of martial arts. Your body is very powerful. It has an ability to cleanse and clean, but it's just like the daily, 9 to 5, then the donut, or just like sedentary.
It's like the more you're not living in that daily vitality, the more you're going to be accumulating. So anybody that's sitting in traffic all day, goes to the work, doesn't get to the gym, isn't eating healthy, a lot of the system. And with cannabis now, we know in North America especially, there's a massive competition between growers to make the strains more powerful, changing the genetics, more cannabinoids, more THC, more Delta-9, whatever all this stuff they're using. And now we know that psychosis and mental health is directly related to marijuana consumption on marijuana users. So a lot of people have that problem. And not only that, you're smoking weed a lot of times that you know if there's a bunch of strains mixed up or it's just one that's been like heavily sprayed. So you're just inhaling pesticides. And a lot of times that's heavy because those pesticides and heavy metals, they get stuck for decades in the lungs and in the lymph. That's the chemical. The emotional is the stuff that we go through from the moment we're conceived, in the womb, after birth, during birth, as a kid. Did you lose your parents? Was there any sexual abuse growing up? Was there any physical abuse? Was there any verbal abuse? Was there any abandonment as a big one, where you left alone a lot? Parents travel, or they will leave you, during the weekends, and you spent alone as a kid. That's a tough one. I find that a lot. Blocks a lot of the third eye, a lot of the throat chakra, heart chakra, solar plexus, and in many occasions even the root chakra, where even our vitality, our power, sexual energy is so powerful. It's just like shut down, And then things that happen as we're teenagers, adults. Finances are huge, it's just like money problems or relationship problems, the stress, breakups,
there is such thing as having a broken heart, and people sometimes even die from that, being cheated on, or somebody dies suddenly, or just that heartbreak. And there's ways to release it very fast with this system that it helps the person cope with day-to-day basis, and kind of, we have a big heart, so we can go through a heartbreak and remember that person and the good times, but we also have the ability to create a new space for someone new, to create new memories. So there is healing with that, but there's also a physical blockage that is emotional in essence, but it's there, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's really important, because everything is energy. We talked about the law of vibration, right? So chemical energies, I think a lot of people can watch this and make sense of and say, yeah, that makes sense. Of course, I smoke, there's going to be stuff here, right?
Yeah.
The physical stuff. I hurt my shoulder, right, from boxing. Of course, there's going to be some inflammation there. People that are athletic or get in a car accident or anything like that. But it's what's really interesting about your method, which I wasn't ready for, was the release of the emotional blockages. But it makes sense, right? Because emotion, energy in motion.
Yes.
And those energies get trapped in our bodies from the trauma.
Yes, they do.
And it was fascinating. I mean, I've had 4 sessions with you now. And, I was coming to you because my shoulder was bothering me from boxing. I thought that would really help, thinking about the method, and you'd worked on a friend of mine.
More the physical approach. And that's how most people approach it, is, hey, my shoulder hurts. My back hurts. In the last few years, it's becoming more like people get to know what I do. It's like, hey, can we have a private call? Listen, I was raped when I was just 12 years old. Or, hey, my dad used to beat me up since I was a kid. And I had kids also. Oh, hey, I had a lot of encounters with the police. I grew up in a rough neighborhood. I got into a lot of run-ins with the cops. I spent a lot of time in jail. I have a lot of trauma from that. So it's just basically finding it, I had a kid that he was breeding these beautiful dogs, but he was also a gangster and doing stuff in his neighborhood to make some money, but he wanted to get out of that life and focus on the dogs. And his passion was to breed these beautiful dogs, right? And then one time the cops went to his house, and not only did they kill some of the dogs, but they took all the dogs he had and they put him somewhere, right, in a warehouse. So during that process, they beat him up with batons, they messed up his spine, the back. It was quite abusive. It was crazy. Many years later, when I met him and he told me a story, it was probably like a 15-year since it happened. So when I was working on him, I felt that I didn't need to put him on the table. I felt that the chest, the heart, the neck, he was so blocked. So I did the entire session on him standing because he needed a lot of hugging. So I was hugging him while I was working on his chest and and all this area, and he would just start crying and crying. Well, I'm just feeling, hey, I'm here for your support. And after the session, he just had this feeling of just being so light and relieved. And a lot of times that's what happens, it's just like heavy. It's heavy. It's just, it weighs. It actually weighs. It weighs grams. If you actually take that emotional pain and you put it on a scale, it weighs. If you had a way of doing that. So that's why when I do a lot of my sessions, even you're like, oh, I feel so much lighter. That's what I look for. I say, how you feeling? I'm saying, hey, do you feel light? Do you feel a little more loose? That's the only 2 things I look for. Because everything else, as long as those 2 things are happening, everything else is working.
Right. And how many of your clients do you feel have that emotional blockage in the body?
Every single one. We're emotional beings, walking through this path of being humans on Earth, and we're emotional entities. So we all have something in our lives, me included, everybody. We've dealt with stuff. So it's just people come, hey, my back hurts, my chest hurts, and then I can focus on the physical. And a lot of times I feel that the person is not really ready to release the emotional, so I don't push it. I say, hey, you know what? I feel this. If you're open to it, come a second time, think about it, and then we can release it. Because it is quite private and it's quite personal, so I don't push it the first session. When it's physical and it goes, they'll come back. They always come back because they're like, okay, there's something so gone out of there. What's deeper that can actually be relieved? So they get intrigued, and they also get like motivated to come and release it.
Yeah, and the physical manifestations we've seen scientifically, you end up with, gallbladder issues or intestinal issues. It's unresolved anger, right? Grief causes a lot of heart attacks and a lot of lung cancers. You see shame coming out with, with
that's a big one.
With cancers and ovarian cancers and STDs and things like that, right? And shame, we all carry, right? This I am bad, something's wrong with me. I feel like the human experience just feels that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was blown away even after I've done healing work for 10 years. What you released from my left hip was probably one of the biggest releases of my life.
What did you expect before you saw me from what you knew? Was it just more like the shoulder, the physical?
Yeah, I was expecting well, to be honest with you, when you said we're going to relieve these blockages and there's like healing that can happen, but it will remove cellulite. I was like, oh, I'm all in because I carry a lot of weight in my hips and my legs. And for somebody that trains the way that I train, which for anybody watching this, if you find yourself carrying weight in your hips and your glute area, there's got to be unsafety of some sort there, right? Because I'm a great athlete, but I've always just carried weight there. And as everybody knows my story with sexual trauma, it's that weight is protecting that area.
Yes, it is.
And I think people need to understand that that's what fat is. It's a protection mechanism.
It's a protection area. It's a protection mechanism. And a lot of the toxins get stuck in the fat. And, if you look at a pound of fat, over 80% of it is water. And you have the cholesterol, you have the triglycerides, glycerol, you have all that. Is water that's dirty. It has toxins. It has the microplastics, and we know that. We have the heavy metals, but also there is memory and there is trauma that's stuck in there. But even more so is in the fascia, because when you go through sexual abuse, or you go through physical abuse, or even verbal, the body contracts. So when the body contracts, the muscle is contracting. And when the muscle is contracting, the fascia shortens, because we have a lot of the nerves going through the systems. A lot of this trauma is stuck in the fascia. Yeah, and the fat too, but a lot of it is in the fascia and the muscle.
What was it like for you holding space when something like that relieves from the hip? I know we've talked a lot about your other part of your life with the healing. Is that stressful on you?
In the moment, no. I had some awakenings. I had some deep meditations. I had some deep prayers. I had some trips around the world with very powerful priests, very powerful shamans. I do a lot of shamanic work as well, but I was able to grow up in a part of the country in Cali, Colombia, in the outskirts, where I was able to witness a lot of shamanic work as a kid and see people's pain be released and held by these shamans. And I think seeing that was really deeply awakened in me. And when I did my regressions in my past lives, I was always a warrior, but I always used healing massively in these past lives. So it's been through my lineage from other past lives and this life as well. It is stressful, and sometimes it's been, the energy gets stuck in me, and I have to release it somehow. So the grounding, feet on the grass, releasing, walking on the beach for me is the best, going in the water, feeling the waves just crashing on my chest. Sometimes I go to a quiet beach. I don't like being around too many people, and I just start grabbing the sand, and I put it everywhere. I just put it everywhere, all over my body, and I lie down, and I just let the sun just hit my body, and I just sometimes sit there for an hour, or lay down for an hour and a half, and I just have the body full cover of sand, and I just want to get all the healing energy from Earth and the electrons and have that exchange and release any inflammation that I have from that healing session with you, because I didn't know you too well, and we hadn't spoken about the trauma. I was just going more prepared for a physical session, just do acupressure. And then when I started working on you, and you're so amazing, your personality, we hit it off, we became friends. And then I was just like, oh, there's something really dark, and there's some evil energy in this spot. And I just was like, we need to get this out, right? And I felt you, and you've done so much energy healing. You've done so much that when I meet someone like you that has this track record and the history of putting in the time, putting in the work, putting in the knowledge, not just reading, but experimenting, taking courses, meeting other energy healers, transforming people, getting transformed is a lot easier in a sense, because you know that my energy is there for you, and I give this compassionately with love. So if the stuff comes into me and gets stuck, I have ways that I learn to release it. But a lot of energy healers and a lot of therapists and stuff, they say, oh, there's ways to just block this energy. You haven't really mastered healing if you are not able to block this energy. And I kind of agree, but I disagree also. I disagree with it actually more, because when you touch someone, when you have a straw, even now if I drink from your glass, not only the germs that you have, but also energetically, there's an exchange, and it's powerful. So when you're intimate with someone, that's a very powerful exchange. It's the most powerful. So even the person that person is being with, those energies, if they're stuck in your body, they're going to be transferred to you. There's some body workers, I see so many online, they use black gloves, and they're doing rolfing, which is great. They're doing Graston with the tools and the scraping, and massage with the gloves. And I get it, because of COVID and all this stuff, which, by the way, I'll tell you a crazy story about COVID when I was dealing with people in Thailand coming, especially pilots that had up to 5 of the jabs. Crazy. Blood clots and insane. I never wear gloves ever. I thought about it, but I thought, no, it's just, it blocks some of the powerful energy that I need to transmit with the latex and the rubber, so I just don't use it. So when I released it and I was working on you and we did the slapping mechanism and it came out, you saw how much there was, but it wasn't really until I angled myself and I started really doing acupressure and pushing that energy out, and I was just like, I was going like this, pressing it, and when I went like that and I started really going hard and you had the big perch and it was quite emotional for you and it was coming out. We were finishing. It was really just the last few seconds, and then you just like got really absorbed, and then that's when you saw me. I had to like, excuse me 1 second. I went, I had to perch it myself because I don't want to hold that, Whereas if I'm more prepared for a session, I might spend hours getting ready for the session, and I do a lot of meditating, a lot of praying, and I become one with the armor of God, and I do prayers and stuff to protect myself better.
Right. And I think the second session,
Yeah.
the second emotional release, which will be shown in this podcast, is, it was that same hip,
Yeah.
deeper layer, and you can just see
Deeper
how
layer.
much shame is held in that spot
Yeah.
from that abuse,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
exactly.
But the first purge, which we didn't catch, was pretty crazy.
It was pretty crazy.
It felt almost demonic
Yeah.
in nature.
Yeah, it was very evil energy that was there, very dark, and that's usually when it gets transferred, because that really heavy, dark energy is so powerful that it wants to be transferred to a lighter entity, and that being me in the moment, it went in, but because I trained to repel it right away, my body was like,
no, I'm not
Yeah,
taking this
yeah.
on. Yeah. And I think this is the thing that people don't understand. And this is why I talk so much about embodiment as a
Yeah.
healer. And I appreciate you so much because you're a walking embodiment of what you do and how you hold space and how you pray. And it's not like healing is not this glamorous industry. And I'm so tired of it being made to be glamorous. It's not just go for a 6-hour training. You're a living, walking, breathing embodiment
Yeah.
of what you're holding in this space.
Yes.
And luckily, I feel as if I attracted you for that emotional release. It really, the
Yes.
physical, my shoulder is amazing.
Yes.
I'm boxing better than ever.
we met
But
for
it
a lot of
was-
amazing reasons, but
Yeah.
I think that was a key one for sure.
It was incredible. And the crazy part is what I really want to hammer home in this podcast, and the point of this is like, if you want to become a healer, if you want to become a light worker, if this is your passion, do your own work.
Yeah.
Because I had to know how to clear that energy when it came up
Yes.
through my body.
Oh, yeah.
Most
yeah.
people wouldn't even
It was
know
heavy.
how to push that up and out of the body, but
No.
I was prepared for that level
Yeah.
of depth. And I think the deepest level of healing that I can hold is womb clearing, yoni de-armoring, right, with women.
Beautiful.
And
Which
again,
I love that.
it's
beautiful.
that transference, because there's energies that come, that we have our own dark parts, our own shadow selves, our own shame, but transference of energy that
It's real.
always comes
It's
from
real.
sexual and physical abuse is real,
It's
and
real.
it doesn't belong in the body, and it has to be removed. And I haven't seen a method besides, the energy work that I do that's so
Yes.
physical like what you do to remove that from the body. And I just think if you look at it, when you
Yeah.
watch this, you can see how black the energy was in that hip space compared to the energy that, was released from my shoulder, which was, like purplish, bruisey-ish from an injury.
Yeah.
But that black, dark, mountainous energy.
Yeah,
It had no business
sticking out.
being
It looks
there.
like hills of just rubbers, little balls, things, gravel. It's just, you can see it. We all have this stuff.
Everyone does. And I think what's really important to know and understand is like this healing journey as well. That integration wasn't easy. Even since 2 days ago, yesterday was a really tough day because that energy that gets released, now the body has to come back into balance.
Yes.
So integration. So I want to talk, what do you tell clients to do for integrating your sessions?
I'm very hands-on. I don't do the whole fancy, send an email with follow these steps. I just talk to them. I send them stuff on WhatsApp, and send them voice notes. I check on them. Hey, next morning, like I worked on someone last night for 2 hours. A very interesting character, very powerful. One of the most powerful men in the world, in the fashion industry, actually. So when I went to see him, we did a session, and then, which was really amazing for me, is that he's done a lot of body work, and he said, hey, listen, that was the best after thousands of hours of massage. That was the best I had in my whole life. So that to me was really nice to hear. And then after he said, yeah, what do I do? I said, look, I need to do a sauna tonight. I need to do a sauna in the morning. I want you to have just pho, just organic, nice soup a couple times tomorrow. Just eat light. What we released was a lot. So just stay hydrated. Have like 2-3 coconuts throughout the day. The coconut water is really water from the gods. That stuff is the best. So instead of just regular water. And I said, if you feel tired, sleep. If you need to rest, listen to your body, rest. Our mutual friend, one of my good buds, Johnny, he texted me when I got here. He's like, bro, what you released for me this afternoon was so crazy. I feel great. Can I just go for a run right now? And that happens a lot. People feel so good, and it's like this release is so powerful that sometimes they just want to train so hard right away because they've been holding back because it hurts or you feel stiff or something doesn't feel right. And now it's like, whoa, like this joint, this feels like brand new. Can I run? I said, no, just, go for a little jog. Don't go for a run, because it was a lot. But I want him to go for a jog, I want him to be active. If he feels the energy and he feels like after that, going through the pain and the release, even going to a gym or martial arts, but he's not going full on for at least 3 days. After 3 days, 4 days, okay, I wouldn't say 100%, but bring it to like 70, 75% and see how you feel, right? It kind of happened to you as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I
you felt
did that.
really good, and maybe you could talk about that, right?
Yeah, I think, what happened to me was, when I was boxing, my shoulder, I couldn't even put it behind my back. And now look at it. It's completely able to go behind my back.
That's incredible.
And it was stuck like this,
Awesome.
right? So I was so excited to get back to boxing. And now all of a sudden I'm firing
Yeah.
and my shoulders are loose. So I went crazy. I was like boxing 3 times a day, going super, super fast.
Right.
And then I called you and I'm like, okay, I feel like a truck hit me. What do I do? And it was so amazing that you came and helped, because again, you got to remember our bodies, they're so smart.
Yes.
And they really adjust to the trauma. So like, even when and I think what's so different about doing this, when you go and you see a chiropractor, you feel great for like 3 hours, couple days.
Yeah.
But it resets, and I have had really great experience with my chiropractor.
Yeah, no, I had
my
chiropractors
neck
work on me, and I love their art, and it's also an art to what they do, and it's great how they're able to adjust, the cervical spine, the thoracic, the lumbar, the hips.
I don't know, but what I gotta say, what that did, it's like my whole body felt powerful, fast, and like being, I was obviously a soccer player.
I say this humbly, and I say this on behalf of my teacher, not me, because my teacher, he is one of the most powerful healers in the world that you never heard of, and he doesn't do social media. He doesn't have a website. There's a reason why he's done this art through his dad, his grandparents, kind of like underground. And when you went back to like, hey, not a lot of people know about this for a reason, because in Western medicine, this method helps people avoid surgery, helps people avoid pharmaceutical drugs, helps people even avoid certain types of therapies that would be used by big pharma and doctors and stuff like that. So I had some instances where, for example, like physios would call me up and like, hey, we're gonna go after you or whatever because so-and-so and so-and-so was coming here for the last 3 years, 3 times a week, and they were helping my bottom line and pay rent, and they see you and you fix them in 1 hour, and it happened a lot of times where I just kind of, I stick to Asia most of the part, and Colombia, Costa Rica, Mexico, places where it's just easier to do my work.
Yeah. It's fascinating too, because if it's not medical, I totally run into that. And I love the whole underground thing, because even with Reiki, which is a big energy that's widely known, Reiki attunements that used to be done, nobody knew what the symbols were. The symbols were gone. They were given teacher to student in their hands and attuned to them. Nobody knew what those symbols were unless they were Reiki. Now with the internet and everything's everywhere, right? It's
exactly.
It's kind of been blown out of the water. But like the real healers, they don't even have to have a social media. It's just they're
if you see mine, for example, I lost my Instagram a couple times. That was awesome. I had so much stuff, but I had it private for a lot of legal reasons and stuff like that, because I had a lot of clients in Canada. And then the new one, I just I put testimonials. It's kind of like the important thing. People just share with them with the world experience, and whoever wants to follow me, great. Whoever feels the call that I need to help them, and honestly, I'm always vibrating at that frequency where I just wake up and I just like, thank you God for this amazing work, and just bring to me whoever I need to work on, and just keep it simple. The adjustment, when you're talking about chiropractors and stuff like that, as you can see when I was adjusting you, I'm not adjusting at the bone or skeletal level. I'm adjusting at the connective tissue level. So I'm adjusting and doing acupressure at the same time. So I'm doing the cracking, which they hate to call it that way, but I'm doing the adjustment. At the same time, I know where the blockage is. So if the blockage is where the ligaments are, or where the muscle through the tendon connects to the bone, and if you get adjusted normally by a chiropractor, what happens is that the blockage is still there. So you have an instant relief for maybe an hour or a day, but then it's always going to go back. And then that's why you need to see a chiropractor in 3 days or next week or in a month, right? And you have to keep doing that. With this adjustment, I'm trying to release the blockage as I'm moving the bones, moving the muscles, and just kind of getting rid of it. And it's a way more powerful adjustment that's from ancient times that I was able to learn through my teacher.
How can people take better care of their bodies?
Yeah.
To avoid having these crazy tune-ups, besides, coming to see you, how can you, take better care of your body?
Number one is nutrition. You are what you eat. So first of all is, if you're going to have fun with food, which is totally cool, just don't make it a daily thing. Like on the weekend, have a cheat meal or sometimes some people call it a cheat day. And, Thanksgiving, Christmas, have fun, be with your family, have the cake, have whatever. But it's the daily, multiple times a day that really accumulates the toxins in the body. So being mindful of the nutrition. The second one is either the hydrogen water or the canyon water, because the molecules are smaller than regular water and it penetrates through the fat cells to flush out the toxins more efficiently. So we are 75% water, and the water that we drink is super important. Number three, people in this side of the world, obviously here, I see so many people at the gym, working out, sweating, it's great. But in North America or in the northern or southern hemisphere, people don't sweat enough. With research now we know that you have to sweat a lot to release toxins from the body if you don't use a sauna. So it's actually insane how much you have to sweat naturally to release the toxins in the body, which is 6 hours a day through exercise. And nobody has time for that. It's impossible. Not even an athlete. I mean, you might be training 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours at night if you're like a super athlete. But if you're using the sauna 3 times a week for half hour and you're really sweating in there, then that's amazing. The last one I would say is just do a martial art, and if you don't want to do yoga or Pilates, and really stretch the body and use a foam roller with that. And that's good.
Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
First of all,
helping
me so much with my physical.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
And spiritual bodies.
Yes.
I know we still have some sessions to go. What's next for you, and how can people get in touch with you if they want to?
My work is entirely through word of mouth. I met you through Johnny, right? So, and then I met so many more people through you and Andre, and it's just like that. So, if you meet me that way, that's the best way. The second way, if you're watching these awesome podcasts or you come across my Instagram, that's probably second best, is Tulum, TULUM .bodywork. Tulum is very close to my heart. It's just sacred land, and I do a lot of healing there. So I wanted to call it that. So if you go Tulum.bodywork, send me a message. I'll reply to you within 24 hours.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chelsi.
Holy shit, beautiful souls. What a powerful episode. JP's work is truly revolutionary, and I'm in awe of how he combines ancient wisdom with deep healing. So let's recap the game-changing insights that we uncovered in the episode today. Our bodies store not just physical toxins, but emotional and generational trauma too. Generational acupressure can release the stored sha, creating profound healing. Number 2, healing is a process. It takes time and multiple sessions to truly transform. Number 3, our physical symptoms often have deeper emotional, energetic roots. And number 4, taking care of our bodies is crucial for preventing energy blockages. Remember, healing isn't just about fixing what's broken. It's about becoming a whole, embracing all parts of yourself and aligning your inner world with your outer reality. That's the fucking magic right there. So if this episode lit a fire in your soul, if you're feeling that pull to dive deeper into your own healing energy, I want to invite you to explore 2 transformative programs that I'm offering right now. For those of you ready to become embodied healers yourselves, reach out to me about my Embodied Healer program. This is where you'll learn to really tap into your innate healing abilities, understand the language of energy, and guide others on their own healing journeys. It's intense, it's transformative, and it's for those ready to step into the power of their soul with integrity. And if you're just starting out on this path, don't forget to check out my Safe to Feel Masterclass. It's the perfect first step to understanding and embracing your emotions, healing your past traumas, and unlocking your full potential. So thank you for being here, beautiful souls. And if you loved this episode, don't forget to follow, rate, and review. It helps us get this powerful information out to more people who need it. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like, subscribe, and leave a comment telling us what you want to hear next. Your voice matters in this community. So until next time, remember, your body holds the wisdom of generations. Listen to it, honor it, and watch as your life transforms in ways you never thought possible. May you walk in beauty, may you speak your truth, and may you always, always, always liberate your bliss. See you next time.